Alright guys, at number 1, and it's not very often a video gets this much attention, we have the one and only, once again, Black Myth Wukong. For those of you unfamiliar, an open-world Souls-like action RPG that first came out way precisely 2 years ago, and ever since just one of the biggest projects in the making out of the whole Eastern region. Well, here's a new trailer that this time showcases the game running on Unreal Engine 5, some new battles and boss fights, and more. Check it out, this game's set to release early to mid next year. Coming up behind that by NetEase, Chinese developers, for those of you unfamiliar, were once again blessed with a PvP-based IP going by the name Mission Zero. A game that supposedly features two teams fighting against each other in a very different experience compared to the company's previous games. Mission Zero, in case you're hyped about already, will actually begin its technical test from July 8th onwards and set to be coming to PCs only on Steam sometime later this year. Check it out, just in case you missed it.
Hey boss, time to wake up. We got customers waiting.
At number 3, and this has been in our radar since earlier this year, we have a brand new game by developers of Cloudpunk from a couple of years ago that just came our way and revealed the game called Nivalis. As you can see, another cyberpunk-inspired restaurant management game in which, well, the player can grow their business, manage restaurants and nightclubs, starting pretty small and eventually owning the whole Nivalis, which is the city here. This game is coming to PCs only, and a release date for it is still yet to be announced.
This is a world to explore, to make stories, your stories. You ever look up at the clouds and wonder what's up there? Well, if you dream big enough, maybe you'll find out. Maybe we all will. Welcome to Nivalis.
My name is Elise. I recently settled in the village of St. Exel, a quiet and isolated place near the sea.
Coming up next, and this was quite a surprise since we heard about it earlier, we have something over here called Broken Pieces. Well, supposedly a psychological thriller game, not a horror game really, and one set in French village and somehow just in a different timeline in a post-apocalyptic war climate. Check it out, here's a trailer. This game's sitting on Steam now through a free demo and set to be released by the end of 2022 for consoles and PCs.
Deeply rooted sickness. When I started to sink into its abyss, I was finally able to see more clearly. Because even if this place is constantly challenging me, it also keeps pushing me to question everything. If by chance anybody is listening, please come help me. I'm not going to last much longer. It's now or never.
At number 5, and I believe I've actually mentioned this one before, see, if you're looking for a battle royale game nowadays, there are a lot of good stuff out there to just go through, and each one offering a different experience as well. With that said though, I don't think I'm alone that believe there will always be room for more of battle royale games. So for those of you who missed it, enter Off the Grid. Totally brand new IP by developers of Gunzilla with the aim to mainly just shake up things a bit in the genre in a 150 player survival premise. Well, check it out, this game's set to be coming to PCs and consoles sometime next year.
Sarah? Ryan? This is Kathy. Can you hear me? Please come in.
Deliver Us Mars, on the other hand, is on its way to PCs and consoles in both generations, September 27 this year. Technically, developers, to make even more hype, are releasing more trailers. This game, for those of you unfamiliar, was a sci-fi single-player adventure game, and also the sequel to Deliver Us Moon from 4 years ago. This one is actually set 10 years after the events of the first game. Check it out.
What do you expect to find on Mars?
Instead, they unleashed a pestilence on our world. No one yet knows if you can kill a god. I, for one, intend to find out.
Kelper Interactive just came out and shared a new gameplay trailer on Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn, for those of you who have actually been waiting. Said this game's releasing for all consoles and PCs between January to March next year. Flintlock, for those of you who are new, however, was actually one of the new titles announced during the Bethesda showcase as an open-world action RPG where guns and gods collide. That's what they say, so take a look. Moving on, we have Ravenlok, well, actually a brand new IP that was also shown at the Xbox Bethesda showcase as a fantasy action role-playing game, and one with a heavy focus on character development, focusing on a real-time combat system as opposed to turn-based, in case you're wondering, also following the series' voxel-based trilogy by the same developers. Well, check it out, this game will release early next year and it'll be available for PCs and Xbox consoles only, technically acting as a Microsoft exclusive. Next up, I'd like to just give a quick shout out to Morbid Metal. For those of you new, as you can see, a third-person sci-fi action roguelike game from a few years ago actually, in which the player can just shapeshift, hence the Morbid part of the title. The thing about Morbid Metal is that this is the work of a sole developer, and all we know is that it's targeting PCs and possibly due out sometime next year, so just keep it in mind for now.
Helios. They search for someone who does not exist. The shadow. The forgotten child of a scattered race. Lost. Until now.
Now, at number 10, once again, at the Bethesda showcase where we came across Starfield's actual gameplay, we were also introduced to an indie game going by Raw Fury, going by the name Ereban, I don't know, Shadow Legacy. Well, what was described as a stealthy, fast-paced platformer set in, well, what appears to be an African-inspired world that's been taken over by robots. Here's a trailer. This game's a Microsoft exclusive as well and scheduled to be released sometime next year.
They will not drag me into their light.
Now, just in case you've actually missed out at the Future Games show that aired around 10 days ago, see, Ale was once again showcased with another gameplay. What was formerly revealed to be the Thing movie-inspired first-person survival horror game, and this is precisely how this game looks like. Good thing about Ale is that developers with the game actually have a Patreon website where it says the game will eventually have immersive visuals and thrilling designs and advanced physics and stuff, and it's all legit. No release date whatsoever and no platforms were mentioned. Also, we know that the game is coming to PCs and a release date for it is still yet to be announced. See, no more than a couple of weeks ago, we also came across another new IP called Decimated. Well, technically, what was described by the developers as a third-person survival role-playing game in which players can choose to play as a human or a cyborg. Here's the trailer. Actually, we don't really know much about this one currently, but apparently a pre-alpha and a multiplayer free-to-play demo for this one is coming our way in the following days, so just stay tuned, guys. Now, during NetEase's game livestream just a couple of days ago, we finally came across some actual gameplay on a game we've known since earlier this year going by the name Once Human. Well, actually just a pretty weird looking survival third-person co-op shooter set in a world full of horrifying monsters from another dimension. But here's a trailer and we know the game is coming to PCs and possibly early next year. Check it out.
Curiosity drives us forward, leading us to explore the known and challenge the unknown.
Coming up, it is Asterigos Curse of the Stars, an action RPG from an independent indie studio going by Acme Games, but what seems to be taking quite a bit of inspiration from Immortal Phoenix Rising, though more on the Souls-like side of things. This game is also expected to be released in about a few months from now and on PCs, Xbox and PlayStation consoles as well. Check it out, just in case you missed it.
The righteous path is always fraught with danger. The curse of Aphis has proven this, and none of us should repeat the same mistake.
Scientific minds of our time work to ensure our species can endure our upcoming challenges, whether it's nuclear devastation or the inhospitable surface of a newly settled exoplanet.
Alright, moving on, we've got Evotinction, a game by Spikewave Games I would assume you'd be familiar with if you've already heard about Sony's China Heroes project from earlier this year. Well, as you can see, a stealth action game inspired by the Metal Gear games and some Watch Dogs thrown in for some good measure. Evotinction was actually announced a few years ago. This game's been through some sort of development hell, but thankfully now back on track and set to be coming out to PCs, PlayStation 5 and 4 early to mid next year. So just keep it in mind. Coming up at number 16, I believe, and honestly this one's just absolutely insane. We have something going on here with the name We Kill Monsters. Actually, what I've gathered to be in development since last year as a mishmash of a lot of good stuff, like first and foremost Shadow of Colossus, Horizon Zero Dawn, and just a bit of Death Stranding and some more stuff. The thing about this game is, however, an official release window for this is still yet to be announced, and all we know is that it's coming to PCs only. Coming up behind that, well, once again we have Choo-Choo Charles. Well, actually a couple of weeks ago we finally came across the news that the game's either releasing by the end of 2022, worst case scenario January next year. Well, during the Summer Game Festival we also came across the new gameplay trailer featuring more of its world, NPCs, mechanics, and more enemies. Check it out, just in case you missed it.
Him to run off and find something else to do.
Alright guys, during the Devolver Digital Showcase just a few days ago by the same team who previously worked on Broforce and a few other games obviously, we came across a new IP called Angerfoot. A lightning-fast, hard blast of kicking doors and butts is what this thing was described by its developers. Well, here's a trailer. This game's sitting on Steam through a free demo and set to be coming out fully sometime next year. It's a good one.
Solis!
On the other hand, well, some of you might remember this from last year, but you might want to know, no matter what, one of the veterans who previously worked on The Last of Us and another one who then previously worked on Red Dead Redemption 2 been teaming up for a while developing a third-person thriller game set on Mars called Fort Solis. See, Fort Solis is described by the two-man developers as a space horror game taking cues from Dead Space and the movie Moon. This is how it looks like. This game's due out possibly next year for PCs only.
Something's going on here. And I need to find out what it is.
And last but not least, by Wired Production, once again, we have, actually from April this year, a game going by the name Gori, Cuddly, Carnage. A hack-and-slash action-adventure game on its way to PCs through Steam supposedly later this year. Furthermore, this game's description reads, Gori is a fast-paced third-person skate hack-and-slash which sees players slice creepy toys and dice mutated unicorns as a murder kitty on a death-dealing hoverboard. Well, this is how it looks like.